Inside a stifling, dusty courtroom in late 19th century Imperial Russia, Prince Dmitry Ivanovich Nekhlyudov sits in the jury box. He is a wealthy aristocrat, currently bored by the tedious formalities of his civic duty. The defendant is Katerina Maslova, a former servant now working as a prostitute. She stands accused of poisoning a Siberian merchant and stealing his money. Looking at the defendant, Nekhlyudov is hit by a wave of recognition. He seduced and abandoned Katusha 10 years earlier, while she was a ward on his aunt's estate. That betrayal left her pregnant and destitute, directly triggering her descent into sex work. The trial is a showcase of institutional negligence. The judge is distracted by a planned meeting with his mistress, and the jury makes a clerical error in their written verdict. As a result, Katusha, who is innocent of the murder, is accidentally sentenced to 4 years of hard labor in Siberia. As the guards lead Katusha away, Nekhlyudov realizes he is the actual criminal in the room. This epiphany transforms the story from a domestic drama into a sweeping indictment of the state power and class exploitation that defined the Russian Empire. Tolstoy stripped away the expansive, luminous beauty he once brought to War and Peace. Resurrection is instead driven by the sensory experience of the putrid, the suffocating stench of unwashed bodies, stale prison air, and human waste. Published in 1899, the novel functioned as a roadmap of national grievances. It documented a society where the elite lived as parasites on the poor, directly foreshadowing the mass upheaval of the Russian Revolution. Tolstoy purposefully discarded high art to forge a political weapon. He used this narrative to put the state, the Orthodox Church, and the justice system on trial for their failure to recognize human dignity. Nekhlyudov initially assumes his wealth can fix the error. He visits drawing rooms and government ministries, attempting to use his high society connections to petition for an appeal. This journey exposes the massive divide in Russian life. Nekhlyudov spends his mornings in the perfumed, silk-lined studies of decision-makers, and his afternoons in the typhus-plagued, overcrowded cells where Katusha is held. Tolstoy uses these scenes to dissect the 1864 judicial reforms. He argues that these liberal court changes were superficial, creating a veneer of modernization while institutionalizing bribery and bureaucratic indifference. Nekhlyudov eventually realizes that the legal system is not broken. It is a functioning tool designed by the aristocracy to maintain class oppression through institutional authority. Nekhlyudov adopts the philosophy of Georgism to seek salvation. Based on Henry George's theories, it holds that private land ownership is a moral crime. Instead, land should be a shared resource where value is distributed equally. He attempts to implement this at Panovo, proposing a single tax system where peasants pay rent into a communal fund rather than to him. The peasants respond with deep suspicion. After generations of exploitation, they cannot conceive of a landlord acting for their benefit. They view the offer as a new, more complex form of aristocratic deceit. This failure proves that individual charity cannot bridge the gap. Centuries of systemic abuse have created an alienation so deep that personal redemption becomes impossible in a society built on exploitation. The novel's urgency was tied to a real-world rescue mission. Tolstoy rushed Resurrection to publication to raise funds for a persecuted sect called the Doukhobors. The Doukhobors were pacifists who rejected the authority of both the state and the Orthodox Church. Because they refused to serve in the military, the Russian government targeted them with mass arrests and forced exile. The novel's success provided the necessary capital. Tolstoy donated $17,000 in royalties to the cause, directly funding the emigration of 8,000 Doukhobors to Canada in 1899. Tolstoy used his literary reputation as a tool for saving lives, enacting his radical beliefs off the page and transforming his fiction into direct action. As the appeal is denied, the focus shifts to the brutal transport east. The narrative moves from Nekhlyudov's individual guilt to the collective suffering of the Russian people during the long, exhausting march to Siberia. During the journey, Katusha finds a sense of solidarity she never knew in high society. She joins a group of political prisoners who treat her with genuine respect, allowing her to rebuild her self-worth outside of being a victim. Nekhlyudov follows the column, eventually proposing marriage to Katusha to atone for his past. However, she rejects him, choosing instead to marry a revolutionary intellectual named Simonson. Her rejection serves as a final verdict on Nekhlyudov's guilt. She refuses to be the instrument of an aristocrat's redemption, choosing agency and shared belief over a marriage born of a nobleman's remorse. The institutional response was swift. In 1901, the Russian Orthodox Church officially excommunicated Tolstoy, citing his mocking, satirical descriptions of church rituals as an attack on their most sacred dogmas. This break mirrored Tolstoy's final philosophy, Christian anarchism. He argued that the core of Jesus' teaching, non-resistance to evil and universal love, demanded the total rejection of the military, the courts, and the state. The novel ends with Nekhludov reading the Gospels in a Siberian hotel, realizing that participating in state justice is a form of violence. He concludes that no man has the right to judge another through institutional force. Tolstoy leaves the reader with a troubling indictment. He suggests that no one can live a truly moral life while their comfort is built on the invisible, systemic suffering of others.